Hello, we're gonna go ahead and have some fun with Rust and just solve some problems. Here we are asked to determine whether the parentheses are valid. So we're given a string with a set of parentheses, and we're supposed to determine if they close in the correct order. Each opening bracket must have a closing bracket, and each open parentheses must have a closing parentheses. And for each one, like this one would not be valid because this one doesn't have a closing, and or at least it does have a closing, but not in the right order. So this one should close before this one because this is more in. So as long as they're valid, then you're good. So just to reinforce that, open brackets must be closed by the same type of brackets. Open brackets must be closed in the correct order. That's very important. And every closed bracket has a corresponding open bracket of the same type. And that's it. It's not very hard. So we're going to create a variable vector, which is called st. Okay, and then we can do just a for loop, and I'll name it C for stands for character, S in chars. The match statement is similar to a switch statement in C++, but it's unique to Rust and it's different. And we're going to do this for every single one. Then it's just a default. If we don't encounter any of these when we are going through the character in S, the default should just be if it's not equal to, then we're going to return false. So if st dot pop, so we're removing the last item when we use pop, sum C return false. So here we are going to return false when the last item in our vector is not what we expected. So to show that, let's work through this example. So I'll draw it out. So our vector is called st. So that's going to be equal to the first one. The first one is this parentheses. And we never get a second one because there's only two. So we go in here and then we put this in here. So this should be closing parentheses. Because in S, we have the opening brackets, we push a closing bracket into the vector. And then after after we do that, it just automatically comes to the end of the loop. It exits. It goes on to the next character in S. The next character is this one, but this one, the bracket, closing square bracket is not any one of these. We only have an opening square bracket, not a closing square bracket. So instead, we're going to come in here and we're going to remove the last item. The last item is this because there's only one item. And since it's not equal to what we're expecting, which is the closing bracket, instead it's the just the closing bracket, not the square closing bracket, then it's going to return false, which means that automatically ends right there. But in the case in which it is in fact valid, all we have to do is return if the st is empty. That should work. Okay, it looks like I was putting a plus instead of an equal. Okay, now it should work. Hmm. So yeah, it looks like it works with these test cases. We are given these strings, which are just these. Um, Another way to do this is just like this. It's the same thing. Okay, looks like it's very efficient out of 102 test cases. So it's not a hard one. So we're given parentheses and we just want to close them. To do that, we just use an array. So we can use some data structure called a stack, but we can also just use a vector. I'm not sure what a stack would look like in Rust since I'm fairly new to the language, but I do definitely know vector, so I just use the vector. And I do have another problem in another tab here. I'm going to switch over to that tab. Oh, it looks like I had already done this one. Okay, we'll just move on to the next problem. Okay, so we also have longest common prefix. This one says write a function to find the longest common prefix amongst an array of strings. And apparently I had already solved this one in August. Pretty sure it was in C++. Yes. Okay. So write a function to find the longest common prefix amongst an array of strings. If there is no common prefix, return an empty string. For example, you're given all of these strings in a vector. So flower, flow, flight, they all have in common FL. So that's our answer. And if they have nothing in common, this one starts with a D, this one starts with an R, this one starts with a C, they have nothing in common. So we just return empty string, so nothing. Okay, so that's the goal, I guess. So we're going to create a variable called prefix. That's going to be our answer. And we're going to get the first, it's going to be equal to the first string, whatever it is, like the whole word. So let's go through this example as we code it. So prefix is equal to, actually it's just a string. So it's equal to flower. Okay. And then for S in, we don't want to lose ownerships of our strings up here. In Rust, ownership is very important. So we're going to pass it by reference. And this is a very interesting way to do a loop in Rust. And here we're going to do a while loop. And while S does not start with a certain prefix. So there's a very neat function in Rust, which, as far as I know, is the only language that I've seen it in, at least, and it helps you with prefixes. It's very useful. So while in S is a string in strings, and we're starting from the first one, so we're skipping this one, which is zero. We're starting from one, which is this one. So this one is index zero or subscript zero. This one is one, and this one is two. So this is item zero, item one, and item two. So it's not one, two, three. It's item zero, item one, and item three. And in that item, we're going to look for what it starts with and where they match. So when we compare these two, this automatically does that for us. We're going to find out that it's only FL. So we're going to do prefix pop if prefix is empty, and we return the empty string with nothing. And then we have to be very specific with Rust. And then at the end, prefix. And that's it. It should work. And that should do it because this will remove the last character every single time while they're not equal until they're equal. And then when they are equal, then we're not going to satisfy this condition. So we'll do that. So remember, this was flower, and here we're starting from the first item. So S will be equal to flow. So flow is this one here from this example. And then since flow is not equal to prefix, then we're going to remove from prefix, which is flower, the last item. So now it's going to be flower without the W. And then we're going to check if it's empty. It's not empty. So we keep going. In this case, not empty, but it could be in others. And then the next time comes around. So I do two here. It's going to be flow. And then three is going to be flow. And now they are equal. So flower and flow stop right there. And then when S becomes flight, we're going to know that this one will then become just FL because S this is doesn't have an O in the third one, it's an I. And there we just return FL and it gives us the correct answer. Okay, it says start with found current reference. That's fine. Oh, it's supposed to be starts. Got it. Try again. And it works. Yeah, with programming, even if you like just make a small typo, nothing works. Like everything breaks. Like your whole program will break. You have to be very careful and precise. Very important. And there you go. It works and it's very fast. Takes less than a millisecond for the servers to run the program. It's a very small program, to be fair. So now we'll do another problem. Let's do. I have a couple of tabs open here. I'm choosing Pascal's triangle. And this is the next problem. This is Pascal's triangle. I've actually never done this problem before. Given a number, given an integer num rows, return the first num rows of Pascal's triangle. In Pascal's triangle, each number is the sum of the two numbers directly above it. It gives us a little animation here. So 2 is 1 plus 1. Okay. And then this is 3. This is also 3 because 2 shares these two ones. Sure, all we have to do is think about this in vector. So this one up here is this one, and these two ones are these two, and the third row is 1 to 1. This one is this one, that one is this one. And that's all we have to do is convert it. And we are given the number of rows. So row 1, row 2, row 3, row 4, row 5. Okay. I think this one looks harder than it is. Okay. Actually, these are nested, so I'm going to vec 1. Then we're going to do a for loop for I in num rows as usize. All this is, you're just specifying the data type. Since you're using it as an index, it must be as usize because that's what Rust uses for indexing. So we're starting at row 1, which is always this one, and we're going up to num rows, however many rows they're asking us. It says the max rows is 30, which would be like a huge number. Because as you can see, each one adds more items, 2 more than the last. So, well, not always actually, but once we have like the 6th, 7th, 8th, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. By the time you're in 30, it's pretty big. We're going to create a variable and it's going to be mutable, call it R, and then we're going to do this one on a vector. Oh, sorry about that. Fills. I'm gonna just do a comment here. Fills with ones for the row size. So wherever we're starting at, like each row that we start, we're automatically gonna just fill it with ones. Then we're gonna create another for loop here for j and I. I'm just gonna do everything in one line to keep it short. It's gonna be I minus 1 j minus 1 plus t minus 1 j, and that should work. Yeah, I do believe that should work already. We can try it. Then here we can just return t. And let's see. Okay. Yeah, it did work. Cool. Let's see if it's robust. Okay, it is robust enough. It looks like it's also pretty fast as a plus. It's not very space efficient, but it's pretty fast as a trade off. So that's it for Pascal's triangle. I guess that we can stop there since it's already 21 minutes. That's fine. So we went through Pascal's triangle, longest common prefix, and that's it. And oh, and palindrome as well. Well, I had already done that one, so we did this one instead. Cool. Well, that was just a quick walkthrough through a couple of LeetCode problems in the Rust programming language. I haven't used this programming language much, but it's pretty interesting, I think, just to have fun with it and play with it a little bit. But again, thank you for your time.